Hey, it's Curious Dude. So I got a used 5-liter high output roller motor with my Mustang project. Let's find out if it's any good. All right, so this is the used 5-liter engine that came with the Mustang when I bought it. So the story was that this was a low mileage 5-liter roller motor and that, it came with the deal when you bought it, and it's an original Ford piece, etc., etc. But really, is it really a low mileage 5-liter Mustang engine? Well, we're going to dig and take a closer look. But first, a quick overview. So if you know high output Fords, this intake and that plate are obviously kind of a dead giveaway, but this particular motor came out in 86 through 1993 in this configuration. In 86, it had flat top pistons. In 1987 through 93, it had 4-valve relief pistons. So that's certainly going to be something that'll tell us the year of the engine when we pull a plug and look in a bore. Another thing to note is that, they're a sequential fuel injection engine. It's direct port injection right off the intake. For its time, they're pretty state-of-the-art. They came with, tube headers. They were an extremely torquey motor with a very torquey camshaft. And so, they had lots of performance for what they were. So the first thing I wanted to show you about this engine, which is apparently quite low mileage, is a couple of clues that tell me a little bit about potentially the year of the engine, but also what kind of condition we can expect. So let's look here. Okay, so the first thing I notice is that all the finishes are very original looking, with the exception of, for some reason, some previous owner decided to give it the old rattle can rebuild, which is alarming, but because they sprayed the hoses and they sprayed the spark plugs and a little bit you can see on the exhaust, it looks terrible. However, there's some other things that are interesting. So the first thing is all 5-liter engines came with a factory, the oil pan was actually black from the factory. It was unpainted, unlike the block. But if you look up underneath here, holy dust, normally 5 liters like to drip a bit of oil. So a higher mileage engine, I would expect in here that I would see some seepage. That's that pressure warning indicator. There's no drips around there, or the low. Even the rear main seal area, quite dry. If I look at the back of the heads, sometimes they'll seep in here, and especially the back of the lower intake. Very often this is a leak spot for 5 liters. I don't really see any seepage of any kind, to be honest, on this engine, which is kind of interesting. The other thing is that I believe the heads from the factory are unpainted. I believe so. So I can see, this original unpainted area where when they were spraying they didn't catch, and there's still some factory stamping numbers and stuff on there. The other thing, this is interesting. So there's the PCV valve, and if you can see, that's a, Motorcraft Ford part number. All of these vacuum lines have Motorcraft part numbers associated with them. If we look at this, that's the EGR system, factory connector, inspection stamps. Go a little bit further here, factory part, we see the Ford label. So again, these are the kind of things that, they wear off or they get burned off. That's a paper tag. This was really interesting. Now the engine's been sealed its whole life, plugs in it and bagged, but even the service procedure sticker on the throttle body is still there. So again, pretty rare to find that stuff. Thermomacular, or the air pump system, it's all there, etc., etc. So lots of things. The distributor is what it is. If we look at the water pump, it's a Ford piece. We can see the date code is 93. Again, obviously could be replaced, but also makes me think, well, perhaps this is a 1993 engine. Another thing to note is that the harmonic balancer and that are black. I don't know if that was a factory thing or not. Pretty sure they were, and I think this pointer should also be black. But anyways, very original. Another cool thing I want to show you is about the alternator. So this is the alternator that was on it, and the bolts were pretty firmly on there, but you'll notice that it has sort of a chromate color, and then this pulley looks like it was unpainted almost. And I thought, well, it's interesting, it's got a serial number made in Canada. And then I look on the back and I'm like, well, it's an original Motorcraft unit. So, which looks to be in actually really good condition. Now again, could have been replaced, but it's a 75 amp unit, and all the coloring on it and everything looks exactly as you would expect from the factory. So again, another indication that could very well be a very, very low mileage 5-liter engine. Okay, so let's pull a plug. This is number 1. What do we see here? A little oil on the outside of the threads, but you know, let's try and get that to focus. The plugs definitely look, the gap looks a little wider than it should be in my mind. But, you know, they're a Ford plug. Let's check some others. So there's number 2. Man, I wish they wouldn't have painted this engine, but yeah, a little sooty, but like I don't see anything really, no damage to it or anything crazy. Look at 3 and 4. I would say about similar condition. Gap looks a little big. Plugs might be a bit worn down, but nothing scary there. We'll do the same on the other side. Good condition. Like if we do a quick zoom in, but like they're all in great shape. Nothing really, really concerning to note. So I'm going to give the engine a little bit of a rotation, and I've done this many times, so I do know that the engine freely turns quite easily. But I do want to do kind of go through one full revolution. Now the plugs are on, I just want to kind of see if I feel anything unusual in terms of, you know, the motion of the engine. Does it get caught anywhere? Nothing, nothing odd. And we'll just see how it feels rotating without any issue. Can hear some compression coming up in the engine too, which is good. And I'm gonna go sit this on TDC. There. Nothing felt odd, but now I'm excited because I have a special tool. It's going to allow us to take a closer look inside. So I've got a borescope, so let's take a look at cylinder number 1 together and see what we can find out. In to cylinder number 1, which this should be TDC, I believe, or they're at the top or bottom. Oh, it's certainly at the top. So we're looking at the top of a piston, and I can see that there's a valve relief there immediately. I might be able to get a little peek of the head valve. Not really. So we're going to go, and I'm going to rotate this engine down so that we can take a look and see. We'll go an entire half rotation there. And if we did this correctly, the cylinder should now be at the bottom of the cylinder, which it is. So there we can go. Okay, so there's a little piece, there's the bore. Wow, that's amazing. I can actually see there's crosshatch on there. That's awesome. I can see a slight discoloration, but I don't see a lot of rust or anything alarming. So that's super great for this cylinder. And I think you can see there that we're getting a really good view of the piston. So there we go, little different angle. Now we get a good, nice shot. Well, hey, that is wonderful. That top of that cylinder, or that piston looks great. So, you know, like I mentioned, the 4 valve reliefs, a little bit of deposit there. Can't get a part number off there, but it doesn't look to be full of carbon or anything concerning. A little bit of buildup, but nothing. And the bore, again, we get a nice view. There's a good crosshatch still visible. That is really exciting in that cylinder. Wow. Yeah, that's encouraging, really encouraging. I don't know if I can turn it enough to catch the edge of the valve. I can just catch an edge of the valve there. That would be it's going to be the exhaust valve there, which we'll get a better look at, you know, eventually when I pull off the exhaust and stuff. But hey, for the first cylinder just to have a look, that's a-okay. That's really far better condition than I actually thought it would be. So I'm going to take a look. Let's pick a cylinder on the other side, maybe cylinder number 5 or 8. Here we go here again. Piston top looks really good. No damage. Even less deposits on this. And cylinder wall, you can see still some original crosshatch in there. Maybe a tiny bit of surface rust, but it's so minimal. That's just wonderful to see. All right, well, we know we've got what looks an initial draft to be a pretty solid base for the engine. The goal, right, is like 13 O's with a stock motored 5-liter. And hopefully this is a good solid platform to begin with. Early indications are good, so that's great. I'm gonna put the plugs back in, make sure it's all sealed up. And the next video I do, we're going to do a leak down test with it just the way it sits, and that'll give us a little indication to make sure there isn't one cylinder that's way off from another. Then I'm gonna pop the oil pan off, we're gonna check some bearings, pop the valve covers off, take a little closer look in there too, and we'll learn a lot more along the path. So thanks a lot for watching, and if you're enjoying what you're learning about this project, please subscribe. Bye for now.